Hey, everybody, welcome back to Dr. Cammy and Karen Go Keto, where Dr. Cammy and I are transitioning from a standard American diet of processed foods to a ketogenic lifestyle, maybe carnivore lifestyle, low carb lifestyle to improve our metabolic health. And today, Cammy is going to tell you what we're up to for today's video.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Karen. Today we are discussing a fascinating topic of under the umbrella of paying attention to your feelings and your emotions, and how paying attention to this can really help you to have healthier eating and stay on your food plan and be in your ketogenic or carnivore lifestyle easier and in a more natural way. This is a 7-part series, and we are on part 3 today. Previously in our other videos, if you're interested in the specifics of mindful eating, which was our second video, or identifying your emotional triggers, which was our first video, we can send you back to those, or you can go back and look at those, which were our previous recordings. Today, we're discussing a topic that I need to keep near and dear to me personally, which is working on improved self-control and developing better strategies to cope with your emotions without using food. So, Karen, if you want to give us some ideas, we were having a good discussion before we rolled the tape about self-control, and hopefully we can reproduce that now.
We were, and control is one of the things that usually leads me to my mindless eating or my off-plan eating, because I feel like if I don't have control over the situation, if I'm uncertain as to how things are going to turn out, it triggers me. It triggers this feeling inside, and I feel oftentimes I equate with eating something to making that feel better, giving me comfort for that. But what I think is interesting in this is when we talk about um, coping with emotions without using food, our American lifestyle is just the opposite, right? We use food to celebrate emotional, to create emotions within us, especially for celebrations. I mean, we have Father's Day, Mother's Day, birthdays, Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, all of them. At least in my household and my family, it was always revolving around food and special food and especially sugary foods. And it was an excuse, that increase in emotion was an excuse or a reason to eat more, which maybe back in medieval times or something when you had feast days, but that was because you balanced them with days of famine. And, nowadays, every day is a feast day in the American lifestyle. So I think that it's, to change that way of thinking takes those other two topics that we talked about. You have to see what your triggers are, and you have to be mindful in your eating so that you can see um, to, to help your self control, right? Because without knowing those things, you have a much harder time. You don't have the support that you need to develop the strategies, because who knows what the strategy is. If the strategy is not shopping at the grocery store, not stopping off at the 7-Eleven, not stopping off at Oberweis for me, or the donut shop for you, Peterson's donut shop for you, don't drive by that, right? Stay off of Grand Avenue, Karen. Stay off of Grand Avenue. Don't get in the Portillo's takeout line. Don't do it. Don't, save your time, save your money. Um, and those are strategies to cope, right? To have some self-talk, because it's the self-talk, I think, that gets you into the situations quite often.
Yeah, such good things you're bringing up. Excuse me, Karen. And I'm thinking the other day about when I was at the Aldi grocery store, and I went in to buy some steak because I like their grass-fed steak there. And I was and while I was in there, I realized that I was going to put things in my cart and buy them and eat them that were highly processed sugary foods, and I did that, and I proceeded to go on a large binge. The emotional trigger was some news that I had heard in the family that disturbed me. Everybody's okay, but it disturbed me. And I'm thinking that what I could have done was just leave. And I actually had that thought. I thought, just walk out of the store right now. And Karen, you talk about having your groceries delivered. And that's something that I could think about doing because I don't go to the fast food really anymore. And I don't go to the 7-Eleven anymore. And so maybe it's a grocery store that's next that I don't go to. And the way, when I had that thought in the store about, oh, I can just leave, I should just walk out now, I felt that I was not in control. I said, well, if you leave, that's going to prove to yourself that you're out of control. And really, the thought that should come is you're in control because you're not going to buy these foods that are not on your plan. So that's something that I need to shift the way, we were talking before we taped about cause and effect and how you really want to be at cause for what's happening in your life around your food rather than being at an effect and saying, well, I'm already here. I might as well, I really should have enough control to buy only the food that I want, that I need, I mean. But I didn't have the control. And so the control would have been to leave.
I think what you bring up is good. That that is your self-talk, right? That you had that whole conversation of, oh, if I don't have control of myself if I can't just buy what's on my list. And indeed, you were not in control of yourself. You've proved the point. you know. But what is so good is that's the strategy, right? Maybe getting your groceries delivered is a workable strategy for you. It's interesting that you said, you don't go to 7-Eleven, you don't go through the drive-through. That cuts off. You have created strategies that cut off the availability of those foods. And those foods that you were, eating that are off plan that, usually were part of your binge structure, um, that's cutting off the whole it's not just an action, right? It's not just an emotion. It's a habit, it's a ritual, and that cut that off. And so you were really left with what was left, and that was going to the grocery store. And it's interesting, and it was a binge kind of equal to some of the more recent binges, but certainly not anywhere near what your past binges have been, a year or 5 years ago or 2 years ago,
Yeah.
at least from my understanding. So I think that that's really, and recognizing it. So now you've got to write it down, right? Because we know that that's one of the strategies is write it down, see it in that pattern. And now maybe write, you always have that on the calendar where you circle it in red and you write binge, but maybe you need to do something else as far as the strategy goes to see it. If, color is better, just say, this was because it was an unusual thing that happened in your family. It was not anything that, anybody was in pain or anybody was hurt, but, it stressed you out a little. And so the fact that it stressed you out a little, you can mark that on your calendar a little and just say, okay, so I know when I get stressed out, even a little, and who knows what the real, until you actually journal and analyze it, maybe it wasn't the stress about it. Maybe it was just how you feel about where your life is or something like that, that, that led to the choice of eating off plan. And so I feel like you recognized a lot more things in this time around. And you actually ignored some strategies that we have in place, right? Because you talk to people, you just didn't talk about that. Um, and maybe this channel is the place, maybe the shorts are a place for you. When you said you didn't want to talk to me in one of your earlier binges when you were in Wisconsin, to say, hey, I'm going to do a short though. I'm going to do, instead of sending your food to Jeff Cotterman, I'm going to send it to Dr. Cammy and Karen Go Keto, and let them weigh in on my off-plan eating, because maybe that will bring awareness to it. Maybe it will help you, and your self-control, because maybe you can say, here I am buying my donut, but here I am throwing the donut away, even though it costs $2 or what, $1 or $6 for a donut these days. I'm throwing it away anyway. Anyway, that's what I have to say about self-control.
The other thing I was going to mention too is that doing what I call my ALKs, my acts of loving kindness, I've noticed is really key to maintain those on a regular basis as a strategy to keep me in better control of my eating. Just and sometimes I don't want to go to the jacuzzi. I love to sit in the jacuzzi, but I have to go down there. I have to get in, and then I have to shower off, and then I have to put lotion on my skin because it gets dry. And, there's time, energy, effort, and work into getting there, but just sitting there is so good for me. So putting in that time, energy, effort, and work into doing some things to take care of yourself, to journal. Maybe you don't feel like journaling, but once you get started, you really have some great thoughts and, breakthroughs that come to mind. So taking the time to do your ALKs can help you with your self-control.
Well, and also underscoring your why as to why you want to switch to a ketogenic lifestyle, right? Just, you want to be a better, healthier body, right? You want your body to get you through life a little more easily than it's been doing in the past. And so to do that, it does take the ability to recognize where you're being stopped. And I think it takes the ability to reward yourself, even if it's just with positive self-talk, to say, I did it. I got to tell you, with my mom and her speech, the one phrase that she can usually say is, I did it. It's, there's just a basic instinct to be proud of having do what you've said you were going to do.
Yes, that's really important. And I have a friend who I love who says, make a big deal about it. I was in the airport the other day going home and I got in line at Dunkin' Donuts and it was like an out of experience thing. I'm walking to the line and I'm saying, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's almost like I was watching myself from a drone or something. And I walked into the line and I stood there and then I said, I have a choice. I have a choice right here, right now. And within 30 seconds, I turned around and I left. And then I need to make a big deal out of that. That was a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Don't poo-poo yourself and just say, oh, yeah, I should be doing that all the time. Well, maybe so, but that was a big deal.
Well, and think about it too, Cammy. In hindsight, it might have been silly. You might have felt silly or stupid or weak walking out of the Aldi without buying anything, but you would have felt better.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You would have felt better had you not gone and bought that food and eaten that food and binged.
Absolutely. In lots of different ways. And, 6 different things you can rattle off what would make you feel better, health and all those things.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We're really enjoying this series with you, everybody. And if you feel that this has been helpful for you, if you're enjoying learning about how to pay attention to your emotional triggers and feelings and how this can teach you how to have a better lifestyle, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to us, comment, and we'll be happy to answer your comments. And we look forward to our next video, which is going to be
soon.
Stress management.
All right. We'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one.
Take care.